Alright, this will be a feedback slash critique for DragonGamer2108. Oh man, you posted this a while ago. Yeah, sorry man. Work was crazy, life was crazy. I didn't have any time. But we're here now. So, oh my god, it's always been forever since I do these things. You might know me as Shazam on the Discords. He's my favorite superhero. I am a nerd who likes Tekken. I am by no means a professional. I'm just someone who plays a lot of Paul, watches a lot of Paul, and really enjoys Tekken. And based on my experiences, I'm going to give you some food for thought, right? Some stuff to think about, and just basically me going, hey man, here's where I think you can improve on, here's what I think you can do better, and should help you out, right? It is by no means gospel, right? I'm not promising to change your life by doing this or that or whatever else, right? I'm just simply saying, if you do these things, your win percentage might go up a bit more, right? And then also some things to think about. So you look to be in the green ranks. Obviously, ranks don't matter, blah, 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 blah. But I'm going to tailor some advice on the early ranks because, not all advice is created equal. Some of this advice will apply more at the early stages of the game because the types of opponents you face in the early ranks are vastly different than the types of opponents you'll face in the intermediate and upper level ranks, right? Like if I tell you, oh, you really got to poke and punish and play through, play 3D Tekken chess against an opponent who has no desire to play along with that, then it doesn't matter, right? But we'll get into that, right? For right now, we'll watch the match, point out some key areas, and then I'll go into my breakdown. Fight. So, right off the bat, you're very passive, right? You focus on just letting the Noctis do something, and then you punish, which is a good habit, right? If faced with do I want people to be throwing shit at throwing everything at their opponent and seeing what works, or do I want them to be like more passive and defensive? My personal preference is to be more defensive in nature, just very reactive, not very proactive, right? However, there are going to be times where you have to recognize key opportunities about, okay, my opponent is weak right now, so I can go for a big offensive push right here, right? And part of Tekken is that, and part of Paul really is, you have to be a jack of all trades. You can't just pigeonhole yourself into a specific subset. Like if I'm just going to be this defensive iron wall, because even players who are defensive iron walls, think about like watching, what's his, oh my god, I can't believe I forgot his name. Old man glaciating, right? If you watch his Paul, incredible defense, right? That dude is just an iron wall. But even he has moments in game where he puts on the pressure on the opponent. Like he advances forward, he's the one to take initiative. So don't just let so as you focus on your defense, use that time to think about what your opponent is doing. How do they like to approach you? How do they like to attack? What can you do to disrupt this, right? If he starts rushing in, right? So he starts rushing in at you, he starts throwing stuff, you're able to block it. But like right here, right, when he, a little too early. Right here, when he starts, he whiffs a dick jab or something, you can do 3-2 here if you slightly better reactions or something like that. Maybe not Death Fist. If you wanted a safer option, of course, to go back to would easily reach. Stuff like that, right? Or if you continue to be on the defense, just make a note of it, right? Like, okay, I'm just backing up. My opponent is already trying to approach me and pressure and hold me down, right? So that should be going through your head of like, okay, I'm clearly facing an aggressive player, right? And then it's going to be, okay, what are my safe pokes and stuff that I can use? Does he like to block low a lot? Does he block high a lot, right? What are his defensive habits? What are the, start recognizing what are the habits you can take advantage of, right? I don't know if that's really that negative. I mean, you got the hop kick anyway. My Noctis knowledge is like nil. But yeah, good. You know, good punish. I think it's fine. Okay, so like right here, you go for the back 2-1 a lot, and obviously you get this side switch situation. And I'm not sure why. Like, what was the thought process here, right? So, you get the throw. Right here, you can do 3-2 back 2 for way more damage, right? Solid Oki. Obviously not amazing because you're -3 on hit, but, you know, the damage is what we're aiming for here, right? Because the crucial thing is, okay, so if you go for the spike, if you go for, you know, spiking them with back 2, okay. Continuing to spike them, I feel is too risky, right? Obviously, hindsight 2020, because we see you lose the wall and you get the side switch, which makes me go, yeah, you shouldn't have done that. Obviously, very easy to do that, right? But it's like, why? Like, what was your game plan if you expected him to press something, right? Why not just backdash and then go for a huge whiff punish with something like Death Fist, right? Or just forward 2-1. You know, constantly being proactive on Oki isn't always going to be the answer. Sometimes the best Oki is just backdash. Because you backdash, your opponent whiffs a button. Like if they do something like get up 3 from that position, right? Super punishable, very easy whiff punish, you know. So stuff like that should be something to consider as well. But yeah, unfortunate, you know, it didn't end up mattering, but that's something you should think about in other Oki situations where you're not easily going to get the round, right? Like if the opponent's on the ground, you clearly are standing up and you have the advantage, consider other methods of attack besides just trying to press your advantage in that way, right? I don't disagree with the decision. I guess just unfortunate it didn't work out, but it's fine. Oh, there we go. You know, hindsight 2020. I don't disagree with the whole Shredder thing. But I will disagree with this, right? Okay, so you fucked up. You went. I feel like the Captain America meme. So you whiff Shredders in your opponent's face, right? And they're not immediately whiff punishing you, which is their problem. But you go for the backdash, and this is where I will disagree, right? If you had enough time to backdash, he has enough time, and keep in mind, like the down forward 2 from him isn't starting up yet, right? You had enough time to backdash, you had enough time to just hold block, right? If in a situation where you whiff something that heavily, or you pressed a button that heavily minus, and you're just kind of like, oh shit, I fucked up. Just hold back. Just hold back. The problem with backdashing is that backdashing at that negative of a disadvantage, right? You're like minus something crazy when Shredder whiffs. Like, it's a good -20 or more, right? When you're backdashing at that moment, it further compounds the issue of you're in a negative, like it adds more lag, right? You are now recovering, you have more time to recover before you can just safely block. And then what ends up happening is he presses down forward 2, he has ample time because you're backdashing and he clips you, right? So in situations like that, just hold back, right? Don't commit to the backdash, right? A running theme with Paul is going to be the least amount of commitment you can, and that's going to mean even in situations where you fuck up, just hold back, right? If you can hold back and block whatever they're doing, you could have, you know, if you hold back and you still get hit because they're sharp on their punishment, a backdash was not going to save you, right? He's not Safina, he's not Kunimitsu, right? He's just got an average backdash. So in this situation, right here, you go for hop kick, and we see it Whiff. Tragic. Food. So something to consider in the future is when you have these heavy pushback moves, right? And then you have to deal with like punishing them and stuff like that. Shredders or wall standing 2 is your friend, right? Wall standing 2 especially, it's awkward with the launch, yes, especially I think his back might be to the wall. But the benefit of wall standing 2 is that that thing has like fat ass range, right? That thing has huge range. So it might have actually, practice it in training mode, see if it connects. I think you might have connected wall standing 2, where hop kicks and even shredder might whiff. Hop kick's going to whiff for sure at this distance. Let me see if I can get it back. At this distance, hop kick's definitely going to whiff. Yeah, his sword is kind of closer to you, but there's no hurt box here for you to hit, right? All the hurt box is where Noctis is, and your legs aren't going to reach, right? He doesn't have them long dancer legs, right? He's not going to reach you that far. Shredder, maybe Shredder, but see if wall standing 2 worked. I know it's just got amazing range. It's probably better than hop kick, but something to consider. Unfortunate. Something to practice. Okay. So this is just gonna come with like game knowledge, right? As you dash forward in, as you get more experience and practice, you will reach the point where you realize, oh shit, I just got a sidewall hit. This is not gonna work out, right? Anytime you get a sidewall hit, unless you're at an angle where maybe you can recover with down back or up back 2, don't commit to any sort of wall combo, right? Maybe stick out a standing 3 and call it a day, right? Don't commit to any sort of wall combo, because what we see happen with Demo Man is what's going to happen. It'll happen with 3-2 back 2. It'll happen with any other wall combo, right? If you have to recognize, you have to react to the sidewall hit and then go for down 1, go for standing 3, right? That type of stuff. Because if you commit, right, you get blown up like what happens here. And it's really tricky, but it's just something you got to practice. And as you get more used to it, as you see these situations come up more often, you'll be able to react better. Nice. Same thing here. That one was harder to react to by the time you already did the wall combo. Yeah, it was too late. Don't worry about that too much. It's more about the ones where you clearly have time to confirm the wall hit, the side wall hit, as you run up. And that's when you go, all right, pump the brakes. I'm not going to get a full combo. Don't commit, right? This is another thing, right? Why are you pressing back 1 into back 1, right? The first thing to consider is, has this dude ever sidestepped in his life, right? Has he ever sidestepped in his life? Why are you pressing back 1, right? Another thing to consider is, after pressing back 1, why the back 1 again? Back 1 on block leaves you like -9, right? It is already amazing that it is safe, but you are -9, right? The next move you do is going to come out stupidly slow, right? Your jab, even the fastest tool you have available to you, will be trading, if not just straight up losing to like I-19, right? And it's just something, that's the thing with Paul, is that sometimes you just kind of hold it. You got your opportunity to press a button, it didn't work out, and so you just hold it, right? Because the thing about it is that if you know the opponent is passive, if you know that they're very like, oh, I don't really press a lot of buttons, then sure, do whatever. But you know from experience that the opponent you're facing is very aggressive, very inclined to just kind of keep pressing buttons in your face and just smacking you around. So trying to challenge them when you're at -9, right? What are you doing? You're asking to get blown up. So just be careful about that in the future. Don't know what that was. Maybe down 3. I don't know, in those situations, I just go YOLO, forward 1+4, but whatever. Okay, so like right here, right, you've got him scared, You've got him scared, and now what? Here's the thing with Noctis, right? His defensive tools are very awkward, right? Yeah, he has some annoying parries, but he doesn't have just these fast defensive tools other characters do. He doesn't have a generic down 4, as far as I'm aware of. He doesn't have a generic dick jab option from standing, right? If you press down back 1, you'll get a dick jab. Noctis gets nothing, really. So here is where you're like, okay, he's scared, he's not pressing a lot of buttons. This is where you should be charging in at the Noctis and start applying pressure, right? This is where you need to start really going ham on him. Because if you just hang back and let him flail around, right, he can throw whatever the fuck he wants at you. At this range, what is Paul going to do from here, right? Whiff down forward 2, and then all he has to do is press forward 2 and get lucky with the timing and hit you, right? Unfortunately, Bamco designed a character with full screen buttons. That character is not Paul, right? So that's the thing here, is that yes, backing up initially was a fine option as you get more familiar with your opponent, but now you know this guy likes to throw out a lot of buttons, but he's also scared right now. So this is your time where this is start recognizing an opportunity of, okay, my opponent who throws out a lot of buttons is seemingly really scared right now. I should press my advantage and see how far you can push him to the wall, right? Because that should be your goal in these stages at any point, is push my opponent to the wall and then keep fucking them up with mix-ups, right? So, just kind of recognizing these opportunities. I think it's not the worst thing that you're doing, right? I don't necessarily disagree with committing to the safe play and just not committing too much. But I think you're being too passive and then passing on opportunities where you could be getting a bit more. Right there, that's something you gotta practice. I don't really talk too much about like matchup knowledge right here, right? But I'll talk about like gimmicks and stuff like that, right? It's kind of a gimmick. This move is really hard to see online, which is really annoying, but it's whatever. The spear, anything involving the spear, like right here, he should have been dead, right? Maybe the sidewall would have fucked you up, but you could have just done like easy combo into Rage Art. These moves, right? The spear, forward 2, down back 2, right? Heavily punishable. And every online Noctis loves abusing the shit out of this, because online this move is stupidly annoying, right? Given how stupid Tekken's online system is. You need to, if you want to really edge up, shore up your at least beginner level or entry level Noctis matchup stuff, right? Consistently punishing these moves will drastically change how a lot of online Noctises are going to face you, right? Consistently punishing these big opportunities with your damage is how you get them to stop using these sort of annoying moves. Because obviously these moves are slightly fast. Down back 2 is arguably seeable, but obviously online fucks a lot of things up. Forward 2 I don't think is seeable, right? And it's very fast enough where it's kind of like pressing it and you get hit at the wrong time and it's really annoying to deal with, right? So I guess another thing also to consider is that being this passively on defense is good, but it means nothing if you don't capitalize on your punishment opportunities when they come up, right? Because the whole point about, being this iron wall of defense is that you also have amazing punishment to back it up, right? Obviously, Paul's not pound for pound the best punisher in the game. I think that's like probably Josie or just Kazuya and all that shit. But again, maximizing your opportunities is the key to successful defensive play, right? So practice punishing these if you want to shore up some easy wins off of online Noctises, right? Dog, if there was ever a time to rage drive Death Fist, it was then and there. I don't know why he pressed the unblockable. I don't know why he did all these things, but Right here, your instinct should have been core circle forward 1+2, right? Easy. Easiest whiff punish in existence. And again, I'm not saying like you should delete the game for missing this punish. I'm just trying to highlight just your baseline foundation of being this defensive, just let the opponent come to you, and then, you know, don't make any big risks is a solid ideal. But there are going to be opportunities where you need to capitalize on that defensive on those defensive habits, right? Why do players play defensively? Because they let the opponent take risks, right? So they don't have to take any risks. But if the opponent is never punished for taking risks, then what was the point, right? You're just letting your opponent smother you with just pressing buttons. I think you get the round here. It's not that big of a deal, but I'm trying to stress if like start recognizing these punishment opportunities and just being like, okay, for some reason he pressed the unblockable. I have rage. I'm going to end his life right here, right now. I don't think Blue Drive Death Fist would have killed, but I'm sure the wall splat into another Death Fist would have killed easily. But yeah, it's whatever. Ah, that's right. I mean, it ended up working out. It's whatever. Okay, so like right here again, why the commitment to opening up with hop kicks? Because even at the first round when you're facing this guy, he's not the one that, you know, commits a lot to the opening. He doesn't open and start trying to press buttons and whatnot, right? He knows that, okay, this guy's kind of defensive, maybe I'll hang back. And he especially knows now, it's like, okay, he's going to try and open up with shredders or hop kicks. I'm just going to hang back and then press down forward too. And that's the big issue, right? Is that the opponent, the game is up, right? The opponent already knows that you like to enter in with something, and then he can just hang back and respond, right? So, you know, adjust accordingly, right? If it didn't work and the opponent shows no signs of an opportunity that, you know, opening up with shredders will work, don't do it. Nice. Okay, what's going on here, right? If from right here, why the hop kick? I feel like that tells me that you're not as familiar with the Noctis matchup as you need to be, which isn't the end of the world, but just something to consider. Oh, unfortunate. Final round. Fight. Nice. Yeah, that's what I'm talking about, right? Dash in and then sidestep. Excellent. Ultimate punishment doesn't work out. Okay. Why the down forward two, right? Like why immediately? We'll talk about that later. Good punish. Unfortunate. I think that's launch punishable. All the slides I'm like 90% sure are launch punishable. Some you have to punish in a weird way, because some you float and some don't, but I think Bob and Noctis don't float, so just while standing 2 in that situation. Or hop kick, whichever. Alright, good closeout with Course of 4-3. Let's wrap it up. Neutral punishment / matchup knowledge combos / Oki personal opinion stuff. Neutral. I think you have a pretty solid neutral in terms of the foundation is solid. Right now you have to build upon it. The defensive nature of your playstyle is a good starting point, right? Especially in these early ranks, right? As it comes about, I don't have to do anything. My opponents are just going to keep throwing themselves at me, and I can just punish everything. And especially, even in the intermediate to high level, right? It's only really at the professional level where you don't get people being just absolute monkeys online, right? You can just just hang back. Your opponent's gonna go fucking crazy trying to do something, and then you just punish them. But the key word here is punish, right? So you need to start recognizing opportunities of where to punish your opponent and start discouraging them from, pressing all these buttons. Because once they start pressing all these buttons, then Paul can really shine with chipping him with core circle forward 3, pressure with core circle back 4, whiffing down forward 2 for mind games, right? Pressing with forward 1+2, all of his slow tools. Paul is like a control-oriented character. You're trying to control and slow down the pace of the match to the point where his slower power moves, right? Core circle back 4, forward 1+2, etc., 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 core circle forward 3. You can immediately start chipping those in, right? Think of it like revving an engine, right? When you're pressing the gas to the pedal, you don't want to floor it, right? Paul's not that type of character. You're trying to, thread the gas, push on a little bit of pressure, and gradually increase it until you start to see that like you're in that right zone of my opponent is scared to press anything. He's not really challenging what I do, and he's kind of backing off. Then you want to start going in and just start slamming all your buttons at them, right? Think about it. All the previous rounds, the first round where you kind of hang back, the opponent tries to be very aggressive. The next 2 rounds, you start going, I'm going to run in and do shredders, right? Culminating in that final round of you've conditioned the opponent to expect you to have an aggressive start, right? And then you just dash forward, sidestep, perfectly dodging their down forward 2 into a whiff punish, right? That should be the goal, is what are you building towards, right? What are you trying to condition your opponent to be, softening them up to? Is it more lows? Is it more mids, etc.? Whatever it is, you need to actually do it. You can't just be this very passive defensive character. There is a difference between passive and being defensive, right? Being able to block and punish is very different from just blocking and then letting your opponent press buttons. Now, obviously, this will go into a bit of a matchup knowledge. Maybe you're not as familiar with the Noctis matchup. Don't worry about it. But I'm just trying to highlight areas where it's kind of like, hey, work on these areas, work on some improvement here, and that should be your focus for the future. Other aspects of neutral. At the early stages when you're fighting like these green ranks and stuff like that, poking and stuff isn't gonna matter, right? It's the poking and all this like solid fundamental play isn't always going to matter, because sometimes these people just keep throwing out buttons, and it's just, you have to understand you're playing a different game, right? So as you face more aggressive players, focus a lot on punishment, recognizing when their habits are, when their offensive pressure is weak, and then capitalizing on that, right? And then as you face stronger opponents, that we can talk about that later, but it's really just keeping the same of what you're doing, right? The fundamental is the same, of recognizing when the opponent is weak and when they're willing, when you can recognize these opportunities. Sometimes that opportunity is going to be a big, forward dash, sidestep, whiff punish for big damage. Sometimes that opportunity is just going to be, I press core circle forward 3 for 17 damage. That's it. But that's more than enough, right? It's free damage, right? Because you've conditioned your opponent to respect you. Yeah. So just, it's about recognizing those opportunities and then capitalizing on them. Punishment / matchup knowledge. I already talked a little bit about it. I'm not going to go into too much detail. You just got to look up a punish guide, start checking off the boxes. Try to focus on commonly used moves, mainly like the spears and then the big sword attacks, because a lot of them are safe, right? So you just kind of recognize it's like, okay, he's safe here. What can I do in this situation? And it's just kind of annoying, but it's just kind of how it is with Noctis and some of the DLC characters. They get to throw a lot of shit, but it's whatever. But yeah, just it's more important that you just make sure to know those big punish opportunities, especially in the early levels of online Noctis, where a lot of those players just press the spear buttons a lot because they don't get punished as much as they should have. I'm guilty of it too, right? There's plenty of down back twos from Noctis that I just don't punish as well as I should have. And it's just something you got to keep working on. Combos / Oki. Your combos are solid. I think, basic, always, when in doubt, always follow the KISS method. Keep it simple, stupid, right? You got the basic B&Bs down, no complaints there. If you want to do the core circle forward 1 stuff, you can, but it's not that big of a deal. What's the word I'm looking for? Oki is going to be a lot about recognizing the type of player you're facing, right? And recognizing that not all Oki opportunities are going to play out the same, right? You're not always going to be pressing forward 1+2 into whatever the opponent is doing. Sometimes it's going to just be a backdash. Sometimes it's just going to be blocking, right? So being a bit more patient on Oki and then tailoring your Oki to match what your opponent is doing. Because pressing forward 1+2 might work on their wake-up attack, but you could also backdash for a bigger whiff punish opportunity, right? So experiment with that. Each opponent has their different wavelengths of like, he's going to press a get-up kick here, I should backdash. Or he's going to be really slow to get up, I should do a ground hitting move like down back 2 or something. So just kind of recognizing those opportunities. Punishment, combo / Oki. Personal opinion stuff. Options that I think are neat, but your mileage may vary, right? A lot more lows, especially at the early. Here's the thing. This is gonna be my fucking rant about Paul, right? Maybe not a rant, but this comes up all the time, right? Straight up, Paul's lows are some of the best in the game. Straight up. Very few lows can do the same amount of shit that sidestep 3 and core circle forward 3 can do. Even as much as I meme about, I don't think Demo Man is like the god's gift to like hell sweeps, right? I think the move is very awkward. Even then, Demo Man is still a humming hell sweep, right? And even back 4 post buff is an amazing move, right? Yeah, sure, it's not full stature kick, but it serves a very similar purpose and offers a very lot of powerful opportunities when utilized properly, right? Paul's lows are there better lows that exist in the game? Yeah, sure. Is there a single character with the same amount of like wide variety of lows all in one package that Paul has? Maybe Leroy, maybe Release Fakaram, right? But his lows are very crucial to higher level Paul, right? Being able to abuse the shit out of sidestep 3 and core circle forward 3 is very critical. So I'd highly recommend start using those moves a lot, right? Start recognizing when you can use those moves, when you can't, how good is your spacing, and getting very familiar. Like those utilizing core circle forward 3 of all moves should be a second nature. That's how powerful the tool can be, right? If you just use it to like close out rounds and maybe push your opponent, like hit your opponent every now and again, it's not going to seem very high impact. But a lot of the match can be easily controlled by just core circle forward 3 alone, right? And then once you're dancing, once you have a bit stronger movement, you can easily mask all of your sidestep 3 opportunities and get easy plus frames, if not huge counter hit opportunities, right? Sidestep 3 counter hit at the wall is 90 damage. Easy. No other low in the game can do that, right? So use more lows. Get familiar with how to utilize Paul's lows. That is a very high skill ceiling aspect to the character, being able to utilize his lows properly. And it's important because they help build up opportunities. Yes, Paul has a complete throw game, but it's not like the Kings or Marduks, right? Where it's like this busted throw and mount or tackle, and it's not a cheating throw like Giant Swing, right? So his lows are going to be your key opportunities for chip damage and being able to put pressure on your opponent. Yeah, one core circle forward 3 hit doesn't seem like a lot, but being able to, throughout the match, sprinkle in 3, 4, 5 of them, and all of a sudden the damage starts adding up, and especially with how you can control your opponent's approach and their sidestep patterns, right? They're going to start thinking, holy shit, I can't just keep rushing in, or I can't just keep sidestepping because I'm going to keep getting clipped by core circle forward 3. Abusing that low to the best of your ability is very critical and long-term great investment for Paul in the future. Priority-wise, I think it should be core circle forward 3 at the top, then sidestep 3 or Demo Man, whichever. Sidestep 3 is a bit more awkward. Demo Man's a lot more useful because obviously it's very high risk, high reward, high impact, right? It's going to be about oh, my opponent hesitated, I did Demo Man, and now they're freaking the fuck out, right? You don't need to always use Demo Man, you just need to make sure they remember that the move exists, and then using that as a conditioning tool, right? That's the power, in my opinion, that's the real power of Pulse 50/50, is that the conditioning aspect of it is way more powerful than actually utilizing those high-risk moves. Back 4 is a personal favorite of mine, but you don't have to use it. It's okay. It's not like amazing. It's not going to change the game. Not as much as like side step 3, core circle forward 3 will, right? But just utilizing his lows a bit more, and also being able to poke with jabs. Jabs are useful at any level of the game, right? Opponents rushing in at you, 1-2, or just 1, right? It's your fastest disruption tool to disrupt your opponent and then create opportunities based around that, right? Opponent's just running in at you, 1-2, right? Opponent is just very passive, poke with jabs, right? Just use 1-1-2, down forward 1, etc., etc., etc. Lots of opportunities, right? Just from that move alone. So try to use a lot more of like your basic Tekken tools, down back 4, jabs, down forward 1, etc., and start getting more familiar with them and how to utilize them in order to properly control the pace of the match. Some matches, especially against early ranks, you're not going to use them often. You'll use jab a lot more, and then as the opponent slows down, use core circle forward 3 a lot more. You don't really need down back 4. But as you face stronger and stronger opponents, these subtle little chip damage moves are what really controls the pace of the game, right? You can watch JDCR videos on one jab and why it's so important and why it's so vital as a tool to utilize. But that's really, it's something for the short term, just practice using those moves a lot more. And in the long term, it's about, maximizing the usage of those tools. Other personal opinion stuff. I think some pressure tools could be utilized a bit more, right? More core circle back 4, more forward 1+2, especially when the opponent shows that they're very passive. So something to like really take advantage of those opportunities. Besides that, there's not much else that comes to mind. Yeah. This is really late, life happens. Sorry, it is what it is. If you have questions, feel free to ask. If you're unsure of a point I made, like, hey, what did you mean by this? Just ask questions and critique. Let us know. Feel free to ask any questions. People are very chill in the Discord. They'll answer most of any questions you have. Yeah. Anyway, hope this helped. If anything, if you need anything more, if you're like, hey, I could use more clarification here, or I'd want this type of specific feedback, yeah, just let us know in the Discord. All right, stay safe.